you know, the fallout from the 215 remains of 215 kids that were found in a residential school in Kamloops last week, which is, I don't know that I've ever, and I'd be interested to get your guys' thoughts, that I've ever seen a reaction to what we all know was colonialism, what we all know is abuse of the indigenous people. Usually when we would hear something as horrific as this, that they had found remains of indigenous children or people, and they were from a time when they were put in internment camps and raped and murdered and beaten and abused, as Canadians who aren't indigenous, you know, we would skate right by it and go, well, that's, you know, that's history. That's a shame. And over the past couple of days, we've seen Canada react to this unlike anything they've ever reacted to. And I'd have to say I would be one of those people that 5-6 years ago that would have said, why are we taking down statues of Egerton Ryerson? Why are we destroying statues of our first prime ministers? Why are we taking down busts of people who founded this country? And I arrived at a couple of different reasons why I feel the way I feel today. One was there was a picture of a woman who, and I'll bring it up here in a second. A picture of a woman who had spent years and years and years, I think 20 years in and out of residential homes, orphanages, had all of her children taken away from her during the 60s scoop. And there's a picture of her standing in front of Egerton Ryerson's head. Now, Egerton Ryerson is the namesake of Ryerson University here in Toronto. And he and Sir John A. Macdonald, who was the first prime minister of this country, invented the policies, wrote the prescription, and put a bunch of people in residential schools. Indian day schools, they called them. And Egerton Ryerson was a criminal. He was the guy that said, hey, listen, here's how we're going to do it. This is what we're going to do with Indian children and women, and we're going to destroy their culture, and we're going to make these heathens God-fearing individuals. They started doing that 200 years ago. And all of a sudden, after this 215-person memorial, which was found by ground radar, people are taking this seriously now.
Have they checked out the other schools?
They're not allowed to talk about it.
The Catholic Church.
They're not allowed to do anything because of the Catholic Church, and we'll get to that in a second as well. But the big thing was these statues that are coming down today. And I would love to get everybody's thoughts on these statues, specifically this Egerton Ryerson statue, which took a tumble, as you can see, and they took his head off. And there's this woman I was telling you about standing in front of the head of Egerton Ryerson statue, who was in and out of residential schools for 40 years, 20 years, and then as an advocate for another 20 years. And the look on her face, like I look at all of these people, no matter where they're from, all of them obviously have something to do with Indigenous folks of Canada. And I wonder what she thinks when she's looking at the head of this statue. I wonder what she thinks about what's going on today, knowing how much she and her family and friends and her culture have suffered over the past, she's got to be 60, 65 years, but really 200 years. I wondered what this meant to her when I was watching this the other day. And I don't have an issue with statues. I could care less if they come down. I could care less if they stay up. I would love to get your thoughts on it.